After breaking up with my ex-boyfriend, we kept seeing each other as fuck buddies because the physical chemistry was just too good. After one of our hookups, he tossed me a half-empty box of condoms. "I'm getting married and trying for a baby," he said. "Won't be needing these anymore. I found you a date for a blind meetup. Go check him out. Stop clinging to me. Go find some other guy to settle down with." I picked up my clothes, got dressed in silence, and left. I didn't go to the blind date. After all, my long-lost love is back in the country. Little does he know, I found someone else to settle for behind his back. 1. After a passionate, all-consuming lovemaking session, I steadied my breathing, gathered my clothes, and walked into the bathroom. Ji-Yoon never helped clean me up afterwards. As I stepped out, drying my hair, he was leaning against the headboard. He picked up the half-empty box of strawberry-flavored condoms and tossed it casually into my lap. Back when we were dating, he'd once mentioned offhand that he liked strawberry flavor. Ever since then, I've made sure to have them ready every single time. I caught the box, momentarily stunned. "I'm entering an arranged marriage, we're trying for a baby, so I won't be needing these," he offered the explanation casually. He clenched the freshly lit cigarette between his teeth, its ember glowing and fading in the dim light. Even the way he buckled his belt oozed a lazy, rakish charm. Noticing me staring blankly, he flashed a roguish grin, his voice still husky from the night's excess. "I found you a date, go meet them." He blew a smoke ring in my direction. I couldn't help but cough. He smirked dismissively. "That got you. You girls are so delicate. My wife can't stand the smell either. So I can only smoke around you and the other guys. We've known each other for years, but we only really got close at a party last year. He's exactly my type. But I heard he goes through girlfriends pretty quickly." I discreetly checked his medical report to make sure he was clean before I had the courage to pursue him. Everyone said he was easygoing, but it took me half a year to win him over. I even infiltrated his guys' nights, playing the buddy for another 6 months before he was finally mine. But after dating for half a year, he said, "We're better off as friends." We broke up. We stayed as fuck buddies for another year. Simply because the sex was good. Back then, I frowned and told him countless times how much I hated the smell of smoke. He'd always pass the smoke into my mouth when he kissed me, wearing that infuriatingly smug grin. "Can't quit," he'd say, "you'll just have to get used to it. Besides, you'll always be here with me." But now, he's willing to change for someone else. He fastened his wristwatch and smirked with a careless air. "Stop clinging to me. Go find some other guy to settle for you. This half box of ultra-thins will come in handy for you too." I clutched the box, my throat dry. "But you just said in bed, we'd use them tonight." He flicked the ash from his cigarette. "I need to save my energy for tonight. Gotta go home and perform my husbandly duties. My wife is young, incredibly demanding. I really don't know how you young girls have so much energy." My mind went blank, and I stuffed the half-empty box of condoms into my pocket. "Okay, got it." I can't deny there's a sense of regret. I thought we had great physical chemistry and was hoping to keep seeing him for a while. But he has a fiancée. I guess I'll just have to let it go, too. I was probably the cleanest break out of all Ji-Yoon's female companions. He raised a single eyebrow in surprise and handed me a card. "Consider this compensation. Same arrangement as usual later. I had Shunzi send you the contact for your blind date. Don't forget to show up. Shunzi is his best friend. Whenever I can't get a hold of him, I always go to Shunzi." I quietly accepted the card. He casually stubbed out his cigarette. When he looked up, a warning flashed through his usual nonchalance. "Don't cause trouble in front of my wife. You know what I'm capable of." Of course I knew. The Ji-Yoon family's business interests were vast and deeply intertwined, and the Gus themselves were known for their ruthless, cold-blooded nature. But I never said I was going to make a scene. Is he really that fond of that girl? I lowered my gaze. Understood. His expression softened with satisfaction. Once everything was in order, he left first. I followed half an hour later. This was our unspoken agreement. Even during our relationship, this was the routine. Back at my place, my phone screen lit up. The contact card from Junko arrived right on cue. At the same moment, a piece of celebrity gossip popped up. Ji-Yoon family eldest son makes public debut with fiancé. Forging a powerful alliance between the Ji-Yoon and Shu families. I clicked on it. In the photo, Ji-Yoon had his arm around the girl's waist. his gaze following her every smile and expression. His gaze was intensely focused, a tenderness I had never seen before. Netizens flooded the comment section. What is young Master GU staring at his fiancée's lips for? The sheer sexual tension in that look is off the charts, it's making his fiancée blush. A friend saw them at a banquet and said young Master GU didn't look at his phone once. When his fiancée got dessert on the corner of her mouth, he wiped it off with his finger and then, very naturally, licked it clean. Does anyone else get it? That kind of effortless, natural intimacy. Did anyone notice the ring on his ring finger? Rumor has it he designed it himself, with his fiancée's initials engraved inside. He would never have worn something like this before, right? I used to think he was a charming scoundrel, but now I just find him charming. Turns out it wasn't a character collapse, it's just that none of the people before could make the playboy settle down. If netizens hadn't pointed it out, I wouldn't have even noticed these details. I once asked GU-kun to wear matching couples rings with me too. He scoffed. How childish, it's not like we're getting married. What's the point of wearing fake stuff? I didn't say a word, after all. All these little couples games, I learned them from my ex-boyfriend. I didn't add the blind date. I even closed the webpage. I muted my phone and went straight to bed. I slept the whole day. I woke up to find a ton of new messages on WeChat. My best friend had sent a bunch, clearly freaking out. OMG, aging. Your yellow moonlight is back in the country. Check WeChat now. Pick up the phone. He's already landed. My heart stopped. I wasn't afraid all year, maintaining this relationship with GU-kun. But right now, I'm genuinely terrified. 3. Hwang Yueguang's name is Paid Sung-sui, and he's my ex-ex. We were university classmates. He's good-looking and the top student in his major. I admire excellence. No surprise there. I'm smitten. I made my move, too. But he was like a precision machine. His life consisting solely of data and formulas. I seized the chance to attend his classes. I sat next to him for a whole month, and he still didn't know who I was. I had to resort to a little trick. That day, I tossed my pen into his desk cubby and gave his shoulder a gentle poke. Hey, I think my pen ended up over by you. He turned his head, stared at me for 3 seconds, his brow slightly furrowed. Last Tuesday, you used that same excuse to get me to fetch your pen. And also on the 26th, the 18th, and the 12th of last month, I didn't even remember. Yet he could recount every single one in detail. I was over the moon. Later, I added him on WeChat and tried to ask him out in a different way every day. Even though I kept getting turned down, since I was the one who liked him, I couldn't exactly make any demands. He agreed to be in a relationship with me, right at the 6-month mark. Before him, I was completely straight and had no idea how to pursue someone. I only figured out a lot of the tricks and techniques while dating him. So by the time I pursued GU-kun, I already had the experience. The nickname Yellow Moonlight was given to me by my best friend as a joke. Because Paid Sung-sui was always insatiable in his demands, he was like a machine, knowing exactly where my limits were. I couldn't handle his frequency. His words from back then surfaced in my mind once more. Ayu, don't hide, Ayu, I know this isn't your limit, just hold on for 2 minutes and 18 seconds more. Another record broken. You're amazing, Ayu. He was never stingy with praise, his voice carrying a cool, measured approval. It often left me utterly disarmed. Later, he was recruited by a top-tier research institute abroad. I didn't want to hold him back, nor did I want to wait, so I was the one who ended things. I even felt a wave of relief. Later on, I met GU-kun. He was good-looking too, according to an ex's account. He's the Mac type. Doing it 10 times with him wouldn't stir a thing. No spark. Perfect. That sort of thing is exhausting. After talking to him, I realized it's true. I could even fall asleep on the way. He even asked me, was that impressive? Of course it was impressive. I never slept this soundly during the 2 years I dated Paid Sung-sui. I snapped back to the present and hurriedly packed my bags. After all, Paid Sung-sui had refused to break up back then. It was the first time I saw his eyes well up in front of me. I had to placate him, to get him to go abroad quickly. I agreed to a fake breakup with him, and promised to wait for his return. But the moment he left, I immediately changed my phone number and moved out. That's also when I met GU-kun. 4. I was pulling clothes out of the wardrobe while dialing my best friend's number. How did you know he was coming back? I heard his project was supposed to take at least 5 years. I haphazardly stuffed clothes into my suitcase. It's only been 3 years. How is he back already? My best friend said. I was wondering the same thing. Luckily, my boyfriend is in that field, so he mentioned it to me. But I heard Paid Songsway has become a rising star in tech now, really gaining momentum. I zipped up my suitcase and didn't respond. What are you doing over there? I can hear you rustling around. Packing, I said, standing the suitcase upright. I'm getting out of town for a few days. There was silence on the other end of the line. Hide from what? It's not like he's going to eat you. She paused. Actually, I think I could. Have you ever thought about getting back together with him? I flinched, but I lied to him, and I went to Ji-Yoo-kun. So what? He's the one who went all out and wore you out. Besides, you're single now, so what's the problem? What does she know? That Paid Songsway, once he sets his mind on something, he accounts for every single variable. I'll make myself scarce for now. Once he's sure I'm gone, maybe he'll give up. I picked up my suitcase and walked over to pull the door open. Only to close it again, a hand shot out, firmly blocking the door. Paid Songsway lowered his gaze to my suitcase. His voice held a hint of amusement. Are you planning a trip somewhere? He pulled the door open and stepped inside. The entryway suddenly felt cramped. I took a step back. The door closed behind him. His cashmere coat carried a chill, but it was nothing compared to the coldness in his expression. Before returning to the country, I anticipated your possible reactions. My heart tells me you'll wait for me, just like you used to. My head tells me you'll run, and you'll make your move within an hour of confirming I'm back in the country. It seems my head was right. 5. It had been 3 years, and Paid Songsu had grown a little thinner. He had a face that was naturally aloof, yet his eyes held a deep, soulful warmth. He could perfectly time it for when I found out he had returned to the country. Naturally. He was also fully aware of the matters concerning Ji-Yoo-kun, appears calm, but is definitely seething inside. That's just like him, openly and unapologetically jealous. Next is Hwang Yueguang's move. I quickly looked up and glared at him. Yes, I want to run away. What of it? He didn't speak. His eyes fixed intently on me. His gaze traveled from my eyes to my lips, as focused as if examining a long-lost experimental specimen. Just checking on your condition, he said, his voice softening. Yet a familiar tremor ran through me. That familiar surge of emotion, laced with a desire to retreat, washed over me again, the feeling that we were about to plunge into another endless, intimate moment. What's there to confirm? I blustered, trying to sound tough. So I lied to you. So what? You were off having the time of your life abroad, and now you come back and think you can just boss me around. A tinge of bitterness I hadn't even realized I felt seeped into my words. A flicker passed through his eyes. Is that the reason? No, my heart was racing out of control, but I stubbornly doubled down. We're broken up. Why shouldn't I be able to? Before I could finish, he suddenly smiled. Understood. You have every right to choose. My face began to grow warm. I wanted to shove him out the door. In the midst of the frantic struggle, a box slipped from my pocket. The half-empty pack of strawberry-flavored Ultra-Thins. My scalp prickled with dread as I lunged to pick it up, but a hand snatched it up just before I could. Paid Songsway opened the box and gave its contents a quick glance. A slow smile curved his lips. Has you prepared everything? No, that's. He looked up, his eyes darkening. 3 is a bit few, but since it's Ayu's thoughtful gift, I'll savor it properly. He drew closer slowly, his presence looming. This isn't for you. I was furious, but he had already kissed me, I had to admit. I still had feelings for him. The thought of his terrifying intensity still makes me shudder. But this kiss, wet, lingering, more dizzying than I remembered. I closed my eyes and let myself sink into it. He kissed me as he guided us, step by step, toward the bedroom, in a moment of passion. Someone knocked on the door. A familiar, lazy voice came from outside. Xia Jingyu, open up. I snapped back to reality. It suddenly came to me. Yesterday, when Ji-Yoo-kun left, he did mention he'd be back today to pick up something he'd forgotten. 6. I pushed Paid Songsway away. I was just thinking of an excuse to say I wasn't home, but then the knocking stopped. Right after that, my phone rang. The ringtone was jarring in the quiet room. The person outside had clearly heard. The knocking came again. Heavier and more impatient than before. Paid Seung-sui cupped my face, pulling my attention back to him. "Ayu, don't open it." I panicked a little. "But he already knows I'm home. This doesn't feel right." Before I could finish, he hung up the phone right in front of me. He leaned down and captured my lips in a biting kiss. "Leaving me here isn't good either." His lips moved against mine as he murmured, "It's over between you two." His in the past. Another WeChat notification popped up. I pulled away from him and fumbled for my phone. Sure enough, it was Ji-Yu-kun. "Why aren't you opening the door if you're home?" "Xia Jingyu, don't get the wrong idea. I haven't changed my mind, so don't play hard to get with me. My wife is sweet and gentle. You can't compare." Not opening the door and hanging up the phone, I'd already stepped on his last nerve. The fact that you're not replying now has sent him over the edge. "Fine. Don't you ever open it again, out of sentiment." I thought maybe we could still see each other occasionally after I'm married. Clearly, I've been giving you too much credit. I was completely bewildered. My phone was suddenly snatched away. Paid Seung-sui glanced at the message. A flicker of mockery passed through his eyes. The kiss descended once more. He pulled me deeper into the tide of passion. It wasn't until 2 days later that the memory of the fear he once instilled in me came flooding back. When will I ever learn? As he leaned in again, I pressed my hands against his shoulders in a panic and cried, "Wait, didn't you say there were only 3 left?" He kissed my lips and leaned in once more. "I ordered takeout while you were asleep." Huang Yueguang truly lives up to his infamous reputation. I used to be afraid of his untamed, unrestrained ferocity. But now, he's learned to pace himself and even schedules breaks for me. The experience has improved by leaps and bounds. "While I was abroad," he whispered, kissing my earlobe, "I learned a great deal." My body went rigid, and my enthusiasm vanished instantly. Just as I was about to push him away, he gripped my hand even tighter, pressing it down into the pillow. "I learned it from the materials." He looked at me, his tone clinical, like he was reporting an experiment. "This is the first practical application. After we're done, I'll need you to write up a review for me. That way, I'll know exactly how to make you happier next time." 7. By the time I managed to get my hands on my phone again, 3 days had already passed. The screen was flooded with messages. "Bestie, where are you? I heard Paid Seung-sui cancelled an important meeting last minute. Could it be he went to find you? Should we call the police?" "Alright, I get it." Then Shunzi chimed in. "He says you still haven't added him." Not satisfied. "Should I talk to Brother Kun and find you a better one?" Kun said no. "He's worried you're not over it yet." Don't blame him. He's really fallen hard this time and is seeing problems everywhere. Kun set up the date for you. Sunday, 3 p.m. at Dreamcatcher Cafe. Don't forget to go. Wait, isn't that today? If you were going to set me up on a blind date, you could have at least asked me first. Is Ji-Yu-kun really that afraid I'll cling to him? But I clearly haven't done anything. Finally, I opened Ji-Yu-kun's chat window. The latest one was sent 10 minutes ago. "Where are you? You're not answering calls, ignoring messages. And you even stood me up for the blind date, Xia Jingyu. What on earth do you want?" Below that, there's a voice message. Tap to play. A lazy, husky voice flowed out. "Never made such a fuss before. Is it just because we're apart that you're this angry?" It sounded familiar to me. The voice carried that particular post-intimacy quality of his. After 3 days of being unable to reach me, his concern wasn't for my safety. He spent 3 days being intimate with his wife, only to come back and offer this ambiguous, half-hearted gesture. A sudden wave of nausea washed over me. I replied, "Your wife is a good woman. Treat her well." The next second, his voice call came through. Almost at the same moment, the bathroom door opened. Paid Seung-sui stepped out, drying his hair. Water droplets trailed down his collarbone. My heart skipped a beat, and my finger accidentally tapped the screen. The call connected. Ji-Yu-kun's voice was unnervingly clear in the room. "Xia Jingyu. That blind date of yours waited for you at the cafe all day. You disappear for 3 days, and this is how you get my attention." He chuckled softly, with his usual air of effortless confidence. "You're right, my wife is wonderful. But as long as she doesn't find out about certain things, what's the problem?" 8. I didn't think much of it when I was with him. It was just a matter of convenience. Looking back now, that relationship feels like a permanent stain. I snapped, "Ji-Yu-kun. Don't flatter yourself. Have some respect for your wife. You just got out of her bed, how can you say something like that without feeling disgusted? Paid Sung-swae suddenly leaned down and gently bit my lip. A low chuckle brushed past my ear. Studies show that cheating is a matter of 0 times or countless times. He's not worth your trouble. Ayu, look at me. The line went dead silent. Who's there with you? Before I could say a word, he let out a cold laugh. Xia Jingyu. And here I thought you were so carefree. Can't keep up the act anymore. Hired some guy to put on a show and make me jealous. His voice dripped with sarcasm. Back when you were chasing me, you pretended to date someone else. Is pulling the same old trick again really that fun? Huh, did he think that was an act? That was for real. He wasn't as easy to get as I'd imagined. After Paid Sung-swae left, I went through physical withdrawal symptoms and desperately needed a man to help me cope. When he couldn't cut it, I found someone else. After less than a month, realizing the new guy was inferior to Paid Sung-swae in every way, I went back to pursuing him single-mindedly. I finally won him back in the end. I felt a wave of relief too. I never had to go back to those bone-tiring days. I used the time we were supposed to be intimate to catch up on sleep. I was positively glowing during that period. His buddy praised him as a real beast, so I just nodded along. No one knew that the beast they spoke of, Ji-Yu-kun, was, to me, just a tool for a bit of pleasure and a good night's sleep. 9. Amidst Ji-Yu-kun's scornful laughter, I blocked and deleted him. Paid Sung-swae buried his face in the crook of my neck, whispering softly, I like you so much. I've missed you so much. Honestly, I feel the same way. I just used to force myself not to think about it, but I only took 3 days off, so I had to go back to work. I pushed him away, putting an end to this absurdity. Later, when I went over the details with my best friend, she pondered for a moment and said, You held out for 3 whole days this time. Maybe you should just give in to him. I clenched my fist. No, who knows what he's been like overseas, for the past 3 years. I've deliberately blocked all news of him, afraid I'd weaken. He really is a good man. He's practically flawless, except for that one area where I just can't handle it. The sound of someone cracking sunflower seeds came through the phone. Don't you worry about that, I've checked. He's clean as a whistle out there, no woman can get close to him, not even a female mosquito, and of course, no man can either. I pressed my lips together tightly, rushing off to the office. My best friend was still muttering, but my boyfriend said that Paid Sung-swae seems to have bought an apartment back home. During those 3 years abroad, he'd always disappear for a few days around the holidays. TSK, now he's just burning money for the sake of it. My heart skipped a beat, but I immediately dismissed that thought. I had rejected him so harshly back then. He had no way to contact me, and hardly any friends in this city. How on earth could he have found me back then? I rushed to the office, where my boss handed me a project file. If you can close this deal, you'll be the hero of the hour. I took it with a smile, but froze the moment I opened to the first page. Technical lead, partner organization, Paid Sung-swae. My boss teased, What's wrong? Stunned by his good looks. We all said it's a shame he didn't go into showbiz with a face like that. I heard his team just cracked the key algorithm for the minimally invasive neurointerventional robot. They're the talk of the town right now, with domestic companies lining up to collaborate. I pressed my lips together. Alright, I'll look over the materials first. Reviewing the materials didn't take long. It was only then that I realized just how successful Paid Sung-swae had become. When my best friend found out, she said, My boyfriend mentioned that the Ji-Yu family was incredibly eager to meet them right off the plane. They must be pretty confident about securing this deal. Should we reach out to Paid Sung-swae directly? I paused for a moment. To be honest, the company really didn't have high hopes for this collaboration. The Pei family's tech company is the rising star of the industry, but the Ji-Yu conglomerate is the established industry leader. What's more, with the recent marriage alliance between the Ji-Yu and Shu families, it's a true powerhouse union. Anyone with sense would choose the Ji-Yu group. I brewed a cup of coffee and thought, I'll get in touch with him later. Just like when I was with Ji-Yu-kun, I got tangible benefits from him too. The investments I could never secure, the resources I couldn't hope to reach, he could hand them to me with ease. He really is the worst, but I have to admit, that relationship saved me years of going down the wrong path, even without those 3 days. The moment I saw this information, I would have contacted Paid Sung-swae without a second thought, for the sake of my future. 10. I contacted Paid Seungsui. No one answered the phone. Since I was heading there anyway for a business meeting, I went straight to his office with my colleague. The receptionist asked if I had an appointment. I said. He didn't answer his phone. Expert Pay is currently in a meeting with the GU representatives. The receptionist said with a polite smile, "You're welcome to wait. And I'll let them know you're here once they're finished." I thanked her. A colleague muttered under their breath beside me. "The GU group is here. Do we even stand a chance? Feels like we're just here to make up the numbers." I didn't respond. Not long after, the elevator doors slid open. GU-kun stepped out, followed by his subordinates. He showed no surprise at seeing me. Out of habit, he reached for a cigarette, only to stop halfway through the motion. "You want to partner with them too?" he asked, raising an eyebrow as he stepped closer, his voice dropping to a low murmur. "Their standards are extremely high, given the scale of your company." "I'm afraid it's not quite enough." My colleague's face flushed with indignation. I took a half step back. "No need to trouble yourself, Mr. GU." He stared at me and let out a derisive snort. "Xia Jingyu, the show's over. It's time to drop the act." A room key was pressed into my palm, as per the usual arrangement. He leaned in, his gaze holding mine, then he quickly pulled back. "This project belongs to the GU family, but I can offer you others." Seeing me clutch the room key, a faint smile touched the corner of his mouth before he turned and left. The receptionist promptly answered the internal line and courteously escorted me upstairs. It seems Paid Seungsui got the message I sent him. Upon arriving at the office, my colleague was smoothly ushered to the meeting room by the assistant. The door closed softly. Paid Sengsui's office was stark and cool, a perfect reflection of the man himself. The moment I stepped inside, he rose from his office chair. Before I could utter a word, he had already pulled me into his embrace. He guided me to the sofa and settled me onto his lap. He didn't say a word. He buried his face in the crook of my neck and nuzzled gently. That's the exact same routine I use when I'm snuggling a cat. I froze, not moving a muscle. "So, you've reached an agreement with the GU family." He looked up, his gaze profound. "I was waiting for you. You knew I would come." He gave a slight nod. He didn't seem inclined to continue. Out of professional courtesy, I began to brief him on the company. While our company's scale doesn't match the GU groups, in recent years we have introduced. He watched me intently, listening quietly until I finished. Then, without a moment's hesitation, I nodded, yes. The agreement came so quickly that I felt a twinge of doubt. "Perhaps you should look into it a bit more." He gently brushed his hand across my cheek. "I left back then for the sake of my career. I came back for you. Our technology leads the world. Partnering with anyone else, it makes no real difference, because the outcome will only be success. But working with you is different. This is my sincere gesture for peace." I was quiet for a moment, then took the keycard from my pocket and placed it in his hand. "GU-kun just gave it to me." I looked up and asked softly, "Paid Seungsui, tell me, should I go?" 11. So, in the end, I didn't go. I had no idea there was a bedroom hidden in his office. It's probably because we were apart for a while. His level of service now is absolutely remarkable. By the time it was over, my colleagues had already left, so I had to explain that something urgent had come up. All the shortlisted companies attended the equipment partnership launch event. While everyone assumed the GU group was the sure winner, no one wanted to miss a chance to be seen. You take every opportunity you can get. Paid Seungsui was whisked away to give a presentation the moment he arrived. I stood alone in a corner, holding a glass of wine. I had just taken a sip when I spotted a familiar face. Clearly, GU-kun had seen me too. He paused mid-step, then walked over with his arm around Xu Jiao. "Xia Jingyu, you followed me all the way here." Xu Jiao tugged at his sleeve. "Akun. Who is she?" "Just an admirer," he said, smiling down at her. "She must have followed me." I looked at Xu Jiao, the dutiful wife GU-kun had described. She looked exactly like her picture. Her skin was milky white, with large, round eyes like a fawn's. She glanced at me, hesitating. But she looked genuinely surprised to me. GU-kun's gaze settled on my face. "Jiao Jiao, she's quite the actress. Back when she was trying to win me over, she pretended to be one of my buddies for a whole year." Xu Jiao seemed to understand, yet not quite. "Really, she must have been really into you." The smile at the corner of GU-kun's mouth stiffened slightly. Just then, Paid Seung-sui walked over, he stopped right in front of me. He asked me gently, "Are you cold? Would you like to get something to eat first?" Ji-Yu-kun's gaze was icy, like a hunter watching his prey being encroached upon. He raised an eyebrow. "Don't tell me you're planning to work with them, expert Pei." Paid Seung-sui changed the subject. "All will be revealed in due time." 12. Ji-Yu-kun's group of friends had arrived too. Shunzi sat down beside him. Xu Jiao couldn't sit still and slipped away to chat with her friends. Ji-Yu-kun handed his phone to Shunzi. "The screen frozen on our chat history. That was the last message he sent." It was preceded by a glaring red exclamation mark. "What does this mean?" Shunzi whispered. "Kun-ji, you've been blocked." Ji-Yu-kun's face fell. He was already regretting it, in truth. I shouldn't have cut things off so completely back then. Perhaps I indulged him too much, letting him think I would never leave, or perhaps the novelty of his new wife overshadowed that flicker of affection. It led him to believe I was merely a competent bedmate. Quitting smoking is tough, but for Xu Jiao's sake. He no longer smoked in her presence, but she was finicky, with a sensitive nose, the faintest whiff of smoke, and she'd send him off to shower and brush his teeth. Otherwise, she'd threatened to go back to her parents' house. Only when there wasn't a trace of odor would she let him near. Even in bed, she always seemed disinterested. "Is it over? Should we go see a doctor?" He put in all that effort, but got no emotional fulfillment in return. But I would never do that. The press conference began, and Paid Seung-sui took the stage. Ji-Yu-kun was feeling irritable, his gaze sweeping idly across the stage when it suddenly froze. I was standing right in the center of the podium. Dressed in a sharp suit dress, she held the microphone. She presented the proposal fluently in both Chinese and English, speaking at a steady pace. She seemed to glow under the lights. This was a Xia Jingyu he had never seen before, confident, professional, and radiant. Paid Seung-sui stood behind her, watching her with admiration. An invisible barrier seemed to exist between them, one that no one else could penetrate. Xu Jiao returned and leaned in to whisper a complaint. "Akun, this is so boring. When will it end? I found a trendy spot online. Their stuff looks gorgeous. Let's go check it out later." "Okay." He turned his head to look at her, the wife he had chosen himself. Yet now, she seemed like a gaudy rose. The contrast with the woman on stage was stark. 13. After it was over, the boss called me. Absolutely thrilled. The GU group was all set to throw a victory party, and we swooped in and stole the deal right from under their noses. I heard old man GU was so angry his face turned purple. I offered no comment. I went home with Paid Seung-sui. He seems to have a particular fondness for floor-to-ceiling windows. When he held me from behind, I could see the lake to the side and the building across the way. The windows on the 13th floor opposite were always dark. No matter when I look, it's a silent, profound darkness. His whisper reached my ear. "You were beautiful on stage." My heart rate, he paused, was 56, 3% faster than usual. His heart was really racing. It made my own heart beat faster too. I turned and pushed him away, ready to settle the score. "By the way, your colleague mentioned after the event you have an apartment in Yuncheng. Is that true?" I stared at him, pressing with each question. "Is it in this complex, or is it the 13th floor across the way?" A flicker passed through Paid Seung-sui's eyes. "You're so clever, Ayu. Just as I thought. How did you know I was here?" "I didn't know at first." His voice dropped. "Later, I happened to overhear Chenshu talking to his girlfriend, and this place came up." 14. The truth is, he lied to me. 3 years ago, he contacted me the moment he got off the plane. When the call didn't go through, he immediately understood my choice. Back then, he wasn't as well off as he is now. He couldn't even scrape together the money for a return flight ticket. So he threw himself into his research with a manic intensity, taking on all sorts of freelance gigs in his spare time. Before long, he had finally saved up enough money, took leave, and flew back. But someone else was living in my old place. He kept searching, refusing to give up. He even considered abandoning his project abroad, just to stay and wait for me to show up. It wasn't until I found an email in my inbox. It was a scheduled message I had set up in advance. I had meant to create the illusion that I was still waiting for him. The email contained just one line: "Wishing you a bright future. May you be better than ever when we meet again." He remained silent for a long time before finally flying back to the research institute. I later found out that Chen Shu, who occasionally came for research visits, was my best friend's boyfriend. He casually managed to get my current address out of me. Ever since then, he would take leave and come back every holiday. The director, fearing he might leak secrets, had someone follow him discreetly. A Chinese colleague at the institute heard this, waved a hand dismissively with a smile, and said, "That's just how we Chinese are. Once you buy a house, you feel a sense of emptiness." 3 years, not too long, but not too short either. The light behind that window never came on, but he was always there. 15. Later on, even Shunzi came to plead his case. "Kuhn's really fallen hard this time. Don't give him such a hard time. He poured so many resources into you back then. Was it really necessary to go this far?" I replied. I was so focused on blocking him, I forgot about his lackey you. Then I blocked and deleted them. Once, an unknown number sent a message at 3 a.m. "Did it hurt you this much too, back when you used to look at me? Xia Jingyu, let's get back together." I knew he was talking about those 2 years we were together. He was always surrounded by other women, and I just watched quietly, playing the part of the understanding, uncomplaining girlfriend. I didn't reply and blocked this number of his as well. Pei Tsongsui is back. And is even better now. I no longer need any distractions to numb the pain. He asked me what was wrong. I shook my head and said, "It's nothing, just spam, I just don't get it." Ji-Yu Kuhn was the one who said it in the first place, to keep things simple, no feelings involved, so how come he's the first one who can't stick to it? But I never expected my past with Ji-Yu Kuhn to suddenly come to light. The rumor claims I have a messy personal life, suggesting I latched onto Ji-Yu Kuhn and then moved on to a newly returned tech tycoon. Science news is usually not this sensational. However, Pei Tsongsui's striking looks made him an online sensation. With many marketing accounts posting his videos, the incident blew up quickly, with most of the blame being directed at me. Ji-Yu Kuhn never issued a statement. Instead, he contacted me from a new number. "Come back, I can take care of those messages for you. I was neglecting you before." I ignored him. As the public outcry grew more intense, the first person to publicly speak up for me was actually Xu Jiao. She posted on her official account, "From my interactions with Ji-Yu Kuhn until now, Xia Jingyu has never been involved. Please stop the malicious speculation about her." I sent her a private message to thank her. I reminded her once more to think carefully about this marriage. She replied, "I'll give it serious thought." Shortly after, a video was released. It was recorded for me by Pei Tsongsui. Facing the camera, I spoke in a calm tone, "Mr. Pei and I are indeed in a relationship, but that does not affect the efficacy of the device itself. His team's achievements are world-class, and their work will benefit countless patients in the future. As for Mr. Gu, we did have a past, but we parted ways amicably. He is now married to Ms. Xu. Please refrain from sensationalizing old history and affecting their relationship." I looked into the lens. It's as if you could see Pei Tsongsui behind the camera, right through it. Then, I smiled and added, "Only after being with someone truly compatible did I realize, all those past experiences were just physical adjustments at best. Quite dull, really, and Pei Tsongsui was never anyone's substitute. Let's leave it at that and focus on his scientific achievements." To be honest, I hadn't planned on responding. I don't want to be a burden to Pei Tsongsui. I hope that in the future, when his name is searched, the related entries will be about his scientific achievements, not some messy marketing copy. 16. After the public outcry died down, I heard Pei Tsongsui and Xu Jiao had a few public spats. The Ji-Yu family's illegitimate son also made a scene at their home. Ji-Yu Kuhn, who once seemed to have victory in the bag, has clearly been rattled lately. Securing the deal with Pei Tsongsui was supposed to be his ticket to a comeback, but now, he not only had to fight for results, but also guard against his watchful, ambitious brothers. I put down my phone and looked at the man beside me, who was focused on his work. "Was it you?" I asked. "I've been with Ji-Yu Kuhn for 2 years, so I know a fair bit about the Ji-Yu family's affairs. Old Master Ji-Yu has always held Ji-Yu Kuhn in high regard. He wouldn't just let a bastard son waltz in, would he?" Pei Tsongsui closed his laptop. "I'm done with my work." He deliberately changed the subject. Can I be rewarded with something new today?" When he got back, he said he didn't want to work. I was the one who forced him to open his laptop, Soon, I was completely preoccupied and couldn't spare a thought for anything else. I was utterly captivated by his newly learned techniques. He had already gotten to the bottom of all the recent turmoil. That trending topic included it was all Ji Yoon-kun's doing, a man who had sailed smoothly through life for over 2 decades, getting everything he ever wanted, naturally couldn't stand being rejected time and again, so, Paid Seung-sui casually sent him a little present. It was no trouble at all, I just owe someone a favor, he doesn't see what the big deal is, if it makes me happy. That's all he needs. Under the dual pressures of scandal and poor performance, Ji Yoon-kun's company was plunged into crisis. He wanted to ask Paid Seung-sui for an investment or an introduction, but couldn't even get a meeting. Paid Seung-sui was out working today, so I was home alone, resting. Suddenly, there was a sound from the door lock. The door opened and someone walked in. It was Ji Yoon-kun. He had left a key with me back then, but later claimed he'd lost it and never actually used it. That's why it never crossed my mind to change the lock until recently. I instinctively took a step back, seeing my guarded expression. A pained look crossed his face. Xie Jingyu, do you really hate me that much? For every step he took forward, I took one back. I wasn't good enough before. I regret it. Jingyu, please talk to Paid Seung-sui for me. If he would just. He trailed off, his gaze suddenly fixed on the trash can behind me. Inside lay a discarded, empty ultra-thin box, strawberry flavor. A flicker of hope suddenly lit up in their eyes. Why my favorite strawberry flavor? You still have feelings for me, don't you? What about the half box I gave you? I shot back. Didn't you tell me to use it with someone else? His eyes blazed with fury. Who did you use it with? Xie Jingyu, have you no heart? Just then, a knock sounded at the door. I rushed over and opened it. 2 security guards entered and, with polite firmness, escorted Ji Yoon-kun out of the room. Paid Seung-sui pulled me into his embrace. Are you all right? He asked in a low voice. I shook my head. I'm fine. I paused, then looked up at him. But I only messaged security. How did you get here? He pressed his lips together. Hesitating for a moment, he explained in a low voice. I'm not watching you. You don't like me keeping tabs on you, so I put a tracker on Ji Yoon-kun's phone. Well done, 17. After all his years in the business world, Ji Yoon-kun's foundations run far deeper than those bastards. The Ji Yoon family, though not what it once was gradually getting back on its feet. Because of what happened before, Paid Seung-sui was always uneasy. He arranged for 2 bodyguards to accompany me in my daily life. At a public event, the host jokingly asked Paid Seung-sui, how do you view the entanglements of past relationships? In the past, he would never respond to personal questions. This time, however, he looked up, his gaze sweeping past me in the audience. A faint smile touched his lips. Excellence naturally draws attention, but an upgraded system is no longer compatible with outdated versions. A ripple of knowing laughter spread through the room. Ji Yoon-kun sat among them, his expression grim. He still hasn't been able to sever ties with the Shu family. He still needs the Shu family's support. Beside him, Xu Jiao let out a soft, derisive chuckle. He reprimanded her coldly. What's so funny? Can't you act your age? Just then, the people at the next table started talking about Paid Seung-sui and me. Now that's what I call a power couple. They've both built their own success. I heard Paid Seung-sui transferred all his assets to Miss Xia. They never flaunt it, but that's my idea of true love. Their words were like an invisible slap across Ji Yoon-kun's face. As Xu Jiao listened, a flicker of longing appeared in her eyes. She glanced at Paid Seung-sui on the stage, then her eyes darted toward him. What are you looking at? Ji Yoon-kun snapped irritably. She said clearly, at my ex. Ji Yoon-kun, let's call off the engagement. It suddenly dawned on me that you're just not good enough for me. She paused, then added, especially, in that department. Furtive glances began to drift in from the surrounding crowd. In what way, which part, exactly, is the rumor true? Ji Yoon-kun's face turned ashen. He said through gritted teeth, Xu Jiao, think carefully. If you leave me, who else could possibly put up with your temper? Xu Jiao gave a nonchalant smile. Worry about yourself first. Don't let your father's other sons drag you down. After the event, I spotted Ji Yoon-kun from a distance and pretended not to see him. He tried to approach, but was stopped by the bodyguards. Paid Seung-sui's assistant approached at just the right moment, his tone distant. Mr. Pei instructed that if it's President GU, there's no need for pleasantries. Miss Xia's schedule is quite full. I got into the car with Pei Tsongsui. Once inside, Pei Tsongsui held me tightly in his arms. I used to think everything in the world could be like mathematics, quantifiable with data. His voice was low and measured, even emotions. I always felt I had to reach a certain quota for you not to leave. My face fell. No wonder he was so fierce back then, he continued. Only now have I realized that feelings cannot be quantified. Do it. I hurriedly covered his mouth. Glancing at the driver, I warned in a low voice, "We're in public." The partition in the middle slowly rose, sealing off the space. Only then did he lean in close to whisper an addition. "Only love can." 18. The public has always had a voracious appetite for gossip. The conversation about colors got really fun and heated. Even the usually aloof GU-kun became the center of discussion this time. Spilling some tea, Mr. GU seems not up to par. Rumor has it he's a Mac-type player. Light cigarette. Heard about it ages ago. His ex-girlfriend squad privately calls him a walking enoki mushroom. I suddenly feel so bad for Xia Jingyu. She had to endure a downgrade for 2 years and still gets criticized. What kind of ascetic training is this? Just a casual observer here. So Sister Xia went from a lavish imperial feast, Pei, to plain noodles in broth, GU, and now she's back to the feast. This is basically a palate rehabilitation program. Let's be precise. It wasn't even plain noodles. It was instant ramen, the kind without the flavoring packet. The public opinion snowballed and actually impacted the GU Group's stock price. But I couldn't be bothered. Let the netizens talk all they want. It's just that old habit rearing its ugly head again. I never imagined there were so many variations on that. Honestly, I just feel fulfilled and happy now. GU-kun reached out to me a few more times after that. I know he probably doesn't like me all that much. He just can't handle the letdown. I can't stand the second best that once belonged to him, and now I can't even be bothered to spare him a glance. He doesn't even have the right to repent. What a reformed playboy. What a toxic yet charming vibe. That's all bullshit. My career is on a steady upward trajectory now. Pei Tsongsui, on the other hand, stepped back from the spotlight without hesitation to focus on his research. He dislikes the limelight, saying it eats into our time alone together. I heard there's a Leonid meteor shower tonight, so he drove me up to the mountaintop to camp. We sat side by side on the grass, under a vast night sky where the stars hung low. He suddenly asked, "Did you like me 3 years ago, when I went abroad?" I nodded. I guess I did. If I don't like it, I won't be a wreck for long after he's gone. There won't be any withdrawal symptoms, only a new romance can ease the pain. I just don't like it, nor would I quietly fly abroad after saving up for a plane ticket, just to catch a distant glimpse of him. After that trip, I forced myself to live a proper life. After all, he was doing well over there. Speaking of which, since our reunion, he hasn't formally mentioned the word reconciliation. But in this moment, it was as if all the stars in the sky had fallen into his eyes. He took out the ring box and opened it. Inside was the very design I had admired years ago when we were out shopping. With the intention of marriage, he said softly, "Would you date me for 3 months? Why 3 months? In 3 months, I will propose." His expression was earnest. They say marriage needs a romantic number. I'm a little short on saving the 520131400 betrothal gift. I need 3 more months to make it up. He always has his own plans. I held out my hand, watching as he slipped the ring he'd long since prepared onto my finger. Yes, I will. The truth is, I was already quite fond of him back then, but I was in a hurry to be on my way. He has his own future to think about. I can't stand in the way of his career. The timing is just right. The end. Story 2. The video of my boyfriend proposing to me in Iceland suddenly went viral on the internet. The number of likes exceeded 10 million within a few days. We once became a couple blogger on the internet with millions of followers. Netizens exclaimed that we were the absolute pure love, and my relatives and friends all envied me for having both a successful career and a fulfilling love life. No one knew that on the day Yukai proposed to me, he also ordered a bouquet of flowers separately to coax his ex-girlfriend. It's just a proposal, just for the sake of traffic. The only person I've ever loved in my life is you. Don't be angry. I'll bring you a small cake. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. In the dark living room, I lay on the sofa, tossing and turning, clutching my abdomen. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the originally dark living room suddenly lit up brightly. Immediately, a pair of broad and warm hands covered my cold feet. Yukai's low voice was mixed with a sleepy nasal tone. "Baby, your stomach hurts again, why didn't you wake me up?" I looked up at him. As Yukai spoke, he went to get a cup of boiling hot water and then skillfully put a tea bag of brown sugar and wolfberries into it. I was covered in cold sweat. Only when I felt the burning temperature of the cup in my palm did I feel a little better. Yukai's drowsy expression became much more awake. He held me in his arms with a bit of heartache and patted my back again and again. "I wish I could bear these sufferings for you." I didn't say a word but obediently curled up in his arms, and even the tip of my nose was filled with the faint cold fragrance on his body. My eyes couldn't help but glance at the camera in the corner. Sure enough, it was on. The flashing red light was like an eye that kept blinking. It seemed that there were countless eyes quietly peeking at our lives outside the camera. I spoke in a hoarse voice. "Are you recording material again?" Yukai gently placed his chin in the crook of my neck, his breath rising and falling. "Yang Yang, this is our job after all." I looked up, and my calm gaze pierced through Yukai's eyes. "Then can you still distinguish between work and reality?" Yukai's eyes flickered, and then a trace of confusion appeared. "What do you mean?" I shook my head and said softly, "It's nothing." He raised his eyebrows and stood up straight. "I'll go and cook porridge for you." My gaze followed his movements. When he walked into the kitchen, I heard the sound of the gas stove being ignited, and then there was a rustling sound. The silver moonlight outside the window crept in quietly through the blinds. Early morning, moonlight, kitchen, boyfriend, millet porridge. Each word combined is such a vivid noun full of the flavor of life. But my heart couldn't warm up, because my boyfriend of 2 years had cheated on me. Yukai's phone rang suddenly in the silent living room. Just as my hand was about to touch his phone, he quickly picked it up. I stared blankly at him, and my inquiring gaze swept over his cheeks inch by inch. He looked down at the screen as usual, and his tone was also faint, with a hint of impatience. "There's still something going on at the company so late." Before I could answer, he walked towards the balcony. I stared at his hasty back, and tears fell from my eyes without warning. Yukai didn't know that I had actually already looked at his phone. On the day he proposed to me, after we got back to the hotel that day, he put his phone on the table and then went to the bathroom, because I trusted him completely. I never checked his phone, but that day, looking at the frequently lighting up screen, I somehow opened his phone. He didn't even lock it. I easily clicked in. Obviously, he was chatting with someone. The chat box also showed the words that the other person was typing. Yukai had deleted the chat records very cleanly, leaving only a few recent messages. "Yukai, you bastard, you actually proposed to a woman other than me. It's just a proposal, just for the sake of traffic. The only person I've ever loved in my life is you. Don't be angry. I'll bring you a small cake when I get back. Then I want the strawberry flavor." The phone vibrated, and a new message came in. "Iceland is so beautiful. You have to take me there next time." I stared at those messages without blinking, and my heart sank like it was filled with cold lead. The taste of being betrayed was like a bolt from the blue, or like being poured a basin of cold water from head to toe, making my whole body go numb. Just when my mind went blank, a strange call came in. After answering it, I instinctively held my breath. "Mr. Yu, I'd like to confirm with you. Do you want the flowers you ordered from our store to be delivered to Xinghuan Community at 9 o'clock tonight?" It was the delivery person, not the woman who was chatting with Yukai, but in just a few seconds, Yukai's cold rebuke sounded behind me. "Mu Yang." My fingertips holding the phone trembled. He quickly walked up to me, snatched the phone away, and involuntarily raised his voice. "What are you doing with my phone?" I held back the stinging pain in my heart and said calmly, "Your phone rang. I thought there was something urgent at the company, so I answered it for you." His pupils shrank sharply, and then he returned to normal. "Oh, is that so?" he asked again. "Who called?" I sensed the nervousness in his tone and his gaze secretly sizing me up, so I pinched my palm hard, trying my best to keep my tone normal. "The flower delivery person." He let out a sigh of relief, and a layer of fine sweat even appeared on his temples. Seeing that my expression had turned a bit cold, Perhaps realizing that his tone hadn't been very good just now, Yukai coaxed, "I'm sorry, Yang Yang, it's not that I'm afraid of you looking at my phone. Since you already know that I ordered flowers, I won't hide it from you. I originally wanted to prepare a surprise for you after we got home. Did Yukai forget that today was the day he proposed to me? There was no shortage of flowers at the scene. Could he really come up with such a lame excuse?" I looked at him calmly. At that moment, I suddenly felt that the man I had liked for 2 years in front of me was so clumsy. Yukai was very handsome, especially those peach blossom eyes with thick eyelashes. When he looked at you seriously, it seemed as if they were full of burning emotions. I had fallen for his affectionate eyes countless times, but I never thought that this was a trap he deliberately set for me. Yukai walked out of the balcony, and the memories came to an abrupt end. He began to put on his coat. "Baby, there's something at the company that I need to deal with. I'm going out for a while. The porridge will be ready in half an hour. Pay attention to the time. Be careful when you lift the lid of the pot. Don't burn your hands." I didn't respond, just stared heavily at the clock hanging on the wall. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. What could the company possibly have going on at this time? He had already used the same false excuse countless times. He couldn't wait to go and accompany that woman, right? I couldn't help but think, what excuse would she use to call him away? Was it the same as me, waking up in pain during her period in the middle of the night? Or was it just simply expressing her longing for him? But no matter what, she had succeeded. The man who had just gone to the kitchen in the middle of the night to cook porridge for me because he was worried about my stomachache was going to accompany another woman in a blink of an eye, thinking that the relationship I had carefully managed for 2 years had suddenly fallen apart. A feeling of depression suddenly welled up in my heart. I slightly lowered my head, my shoulders slumped, and I buried my head even lower, and my eyes became hotter and hotter. After Yukai got dressed, he squatted in front of me and touched my head. "Does it hurt again?" There was an uncontrollable heartache in his tone, as if every word he said came from the bottom of his heart. For a moment, I even hoped that I had misunderstood him. Maybe the truth wasn't what I thought. A glimmer of hope ignited in my heart, and I said sullenly, "Can you not go?" Yukai's clear voice carried a hint of coaxing. "Our baby is the most obedient. Brother will come back to accompany you after finishing his work. You obediently finish the porridge, if it really hurts too much." Then, he stopped in the middle of his sentence when he saw my trembling shoulders. I covered my face with both hands, and gradually, some wet liquid overflowed along my fingers. Yukai noticed my abnormality and instinctively lifted my face, and then he stared in surprise at me with tears streaming down my face. Big, hot tears fell and hit his arm. My chest heaved violently, and the emotions that had been suppressed in my heart suddenly burst out. "Yukai, it hurts so much. Can you not leave? Can you not abandon me?" I admit that it was despicable and spineless of me to keep him by showing weakness in this way, but at that moment, my heart seemed to be drowned in thick emotions, and I couldn't make a calm decision for a while. I was waiting for the day when I would be completely disappointed. Yukai's eyelashes drooped. He stared at the few teardrops that gathered at the corner of my eye and then slid down. His Adam's apple rolled slowly. The phone in his pocket was still vibrating continuously. It was like a reminder. A determination gradually appeared in his eyes as he looked at me. In the end, Yukai still took out his phone without hesitation and cut off the call. He closed his eyes again and hugged me tightly in his arms. He didn't say a word. After a while, his hoarse voice sounded above my head. "Baby, stop crying. When you cry, my heart breaks. I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay at home with you." I suddenly couldn't understand him. Yukai went to take a shower in the bathroom again. When he came back, he held me in his arms from behind. Lingering kisses fell from between my eyebrows to my chin. There were still dried tears on my face, and Yukai planted a heavy kiss on my cheek. "Yang Yang, I'll never make you sad again." I thought I would be happy to hear such words, but my heart was unusually calm. I knew clearly, Yukai couldn't do it, and I couldn't continue to deceive myself spinelessly. Yukai fell asleep soon. I reached under his pillow and touched his phone. He had already deleted the chat records very cleanly, and he had even deleted the chat box with that woman. Suddenly, I thought of something and clicked into his Douyin account. A flood of 99+ notification messages poured in, almost all from our fans. Yukai recorded the whole process of proposing to me that day. He edited it into a video and posted it on his personal account as a work. The popularity of the video was still rising. What happened a few days ago was still on the popularity top list. #Yukai and Moo Yang's proposal. #my favorite couple blogger. #pure love is invincible. I casually clicked into a few hashtags, and there were videos edited by fans of Yukai proposing to me. In the video, the trembling hand of Yukai when he took out the ring was magnified. The dense barrage was filled with the same comments. I cry every time I watch Yukai's trembling hand and his turn to look. Please everyone fall in love like this before getting married. I looked at the red eyes of Yukai in the video. I just couldn't figure out how he could perform the act of loving me so perfectly. My fingers kept sliding on the screen. We had shot no less than hundreds of video works in the past 2 years. We even gained millions of followers. I always thought that Yukai's kindness to me came from an instinct, but I never thought that every time I raised the camera, he had already injected false elements of performance. What's more, I also had some responsibility that I couldn't escape during this period. As a creator of media videos, I was too eager to present the best state of our relationship to our fans. So much so that in the end, we went from simply recording at the beginning to deliberately repeating the performance later because we were not satisfied with a certain clip until we shot the most perfect version. During this process, it seemed that both of us had put on a mask. It was just that Yukai got tired of acting later, while I was deeply trapped in it and couldn't extricate myself. After watching for a while, I was just about to exit the software when I accidentally slid my hand and opened the account switching page. That's when I noticed that Yukai had a secondary account. He only had one follow on that secondary account. I opened the girl's homepage. She was actually a small blogger with more than 100,000 followers. Her latest work was a chat record, posted 3 days ago. 30 ex-husband is in pain. The reply on the other side, then go and die. 45, you dumped me in the first place. Why are you in pain when I'm not? 200, where are you? Dead. 300, so funny, you disturb others and then go to sleep. 3:15, are you really asleep? 5:40, I brought you breakfast, get downstairs. The caption, hihi, why is someone in such a hurry? A humorous chat record was paired with the latest popular meme song, and the number of likes actually reached more than 200,000. Many people commented below, actually, he loves her to death, update the follow-up quickly, I want to see it. The blogger is so beautiful, how handsome must the ex-husband be to make her take the initiative? I think I know who this ex-husband is, because the picture of the puppy wearing sunglasses was exactly Yukai's WeChat avatar. The date of the chat record was a week ago. I clearly remembered that Yukai had a high fever in the middle of the night that day. I didn't sleep all night and stayed by his side to take care of him. During this time, he picked up and put down his phone countless times with a troubled expression. I thought there was something urgent at the company that he hadn't dealt with yet. Now it seemed that he was just waiting for her to reply to the message. Later, I couldn't help but fall asleep around 5 o'clock. When I woke up, I found that he was already gone. I couldn't help but laugh bitterly in my heart. It turned out that he was in a hurry to get up early to buy the steamed buns stuffed with minced meat that she liked the most from South Street. In less than a few minutes, the girl posted a new work. It was a photo. It was a bouquet of flowers. The caption was, someone came to coax me. I enlarged the photo and, as expected, found that on the address that was mosaicked, 2 characters were faintly revealed, Xinghe, associating it with the previous delivery call. It was almost certain that this was the bouquet of flowers that Caillou had sent to the woman he was chatting with on WeChat on the day he proposed to me. They say that women in love are like Sherlock Holmes. In just a few minutes, I confirmed that this woman was Caillou's ex-girlfriend whom he had been with for 5 years, and also roughly figured out the time when they started hooking up again. Counting from now, they had been ambiguously entangled for 3 months. And I had never noticed it before. The girl posted the new work at around 5 o'clock, and there were still very few people who liked it. I opened her comment section, and the first thing I saw was her own comment. You broke the appointment. A few seconds later, this comment was deleted. I twitched the corners of my mouth. I guessed that Yukai didn't go to see her tonight, and she also stayed up all night. Then, I restored Yukai's phone to its original state and put it back in its original place. Yukai, who was sleeping, instinctively hugged me. I was trapped in his arms and could only stare blankly at the dark ceiling. The sense of calm in my heart just now completely disappeared. I wanted to cry but couldn't, and I found it ridiculous but couldn't even laugh. The next day, Yukai got up early. He tentatively called me softly a few times, Yang Yang. After confirming several times that I was still sleeping, he got up and went to the living room to make a phone call. My eyes slowly opened. I had something to deal with yesterday and didn't have time to tell you. Watch the fireworks. No, today is the second anniversary of me and Mu Yang. There seemed to be some kind of argument on the other side, and Yukai didn't speak for a long time. After a while, he let out a soft sigh and spoke as if compromising. All right, my little princess, I'll think of a reason first. My hands clenched into fists trembled slightly due to the emotions I was desperately suppressing. Just separated by a wall, my boyfriend was brewing how to fabricate a reason to deceive me in order to accompany his ex-girlfriend to watch the fireworks. When Yukai came back from work in the evening, he chatted with me casually. The company has signed a few new anchors recently. Those kids have great potential. Oh, he noticed that I wasn't in high spirits and took out a box from behind him as if by magic. Did you think I forgot what day it is today? Here, I prepared it a long time ago. I reached out and took it. Inside the box was a Bulgari necklace. I didn't show a delighted expression as he expected, just like before. The upward curve of Yukai's mouth froze, and he put down the camera he had just raised to record. What's wrong, Yang Yang? Don't you like it? I gently shook my head. No, he let out a sigh of relief and opened the camera again. I'm glad you like it. Then let's record another video, Yang Yang. Your expression just now wasn't good enough. When I heard Yukai's words, I subconsciously frowned. Do the things we present to our fans have to be so deliberate? In fact, what I wanted to ask was that if we weren't running an account together, would Yukai even be too lazy to act anymore? He seemed to not understand why I would say such a thing at all. Yang Yang, the content of our account is mainly about the daily life of a couple. Performing the things that fans want to see is part of our job. I stared at him blankly. Then is your kindness to me just to complete the work? He froze in place and suddenly fell silent. Yukai seemed to have never thought about whether our relationship would still have any meaning once it was away from the camera. He sat quietly opposite me. He didn't smoke, but he let the cigarette burn between his fingers. Wisps of smoke passed by his eyes, and his eyes were always fixed on me. Yang Yang, don't think too much. I definitely love you. Yukai said it sincerely, as if it came from the bottom of his heart. It was as if the person who had been lingering and entangled with his ex-girlfriend wasn't him. I lowered my eyebrows and said softly, there's a fireworks show in Lucheng recently. I want you to accompany me to watch the fireworks for our second anniversary. Yukai was suddenly taken aback and almost instinctively retorted, not today. I closed my eyes and asked in a hoarse voice, why? Didn't I just tell you that the company signed 2 new anchors recently? I need to show them around and get them familiar with the business. As he said this, his eyes subtly swept over my eyebrows and eyes. It seemed that he was observing my reaction. I blinked my eyes. Okay, then you can go. My tone was as calm as ever. Yukai secretly let out a sigh of relief, and a trace of joy appeared on his eyebrows. Good baby. I'll take you out for dinner after I'm done with my work. After he went out, I took a taxi and followed him. Yukai first went to Xinghuan and picked up his ex-girlfriend. The two of them stayed in the car for about 20 minutes before starting the car. During this time, my whole body was tense, and the overwhelming feeling in my stomach surged up to my throat wave after wave. Jiangjing Bridge was the best place to watch the fireworks. At 7:50 in the evening, there were quite a few people standing under the bridge. Most of them were young and sweet couples. Yukai was fully armed and covered himself up tightly. He stood in a hidden corner with his ex-girlfriend, and I stood less than 10 meters behind them. Won't your girlfriend be angry that you came out to accompany me? She won't know. The girl let out a satisfied hum and casually hooked her arm around Yukai's. Her tone was filled with uncontrollable sadness. It turns out that you can propose to someone after being in a relationship for 2 years, but I've been waiting for a long time. 5 years. I accompanied you from having no car and no house to having both. During the tough times, I ate instant noodles and boxed meals with you. You said you would never let me down in this life and would make me live a good life. When you didn't have a car, You rode a small motorcycle to take me around every day. It was always inconvenient for me to wear a skirt. Later, you bought a car. Unfortunately, I only sat in the passenger seat a few times before getting off. Yukai turned around to look at her. From my perspective, I could see his tense jaw. This was a sign that he was getting emotional. Ian, you're the one I really want to propose to, he called her in a trembling voice, and his tone was filled with overwhelming sadness. I will always remember that day when Yukai slowly knelt down on the white snow under the pure dark blue sky in Iceland. He took out an exquisite ring from his pocket. And the emotion in his eyes for me was so sincere and passionate. Mu Yang, would you like to be my wife? After he finished speaking, the aurora in the sky became his foil. At that moment, the whole world was silent, and I just nodded gently. We hugged and kissed. At that moment, it seemed that time stood still, and there were only the two of us in the whole world. I naively thought that the vow crystallized at sub-zero temperatures would never change. But I never thought that the person he really wanted to propose to wasn't me at all. 5 years. They had been together for a full 5 years. Lin Yang's name had occupied most of Yukai's youth. How regretful he must be. The wind by the river was very strong. The messy flying hair was like vines with thorns, slapping my face mercilessly one after another. It seemed to be laughing at me as a joke. In the end, I didn't know who took the initiative first. And the two of them kissed each other inseparably. At 8:59, I held my cold phone and called Yukai. He impatiently hung up. I continued to dial. The last time, he couldn't bear it anymore and answered. Mu Yang, are you crazy? I'm busy here. At exactly 8 o'clock Beijing time, the silent sky in Luqing was completely illuminated by the fireworks in the sky. Lin Yang beside Yukai happily jumped up and took his hand. He held the phone in one hand and held her hand with the other. There was gentle doting between his eyebrows. But he shouted harshly at me on the other end of the phone. Is there anything else? If not, I'll hang up. I was so shocked by his shout that I instantly became quiet. I desperately suppressed the smell of blood surging up in my throat and said softly, Yukai, when the fireworks are lit, will you remember that today is our 2nd anniversary? Or will you make a wish to get back together with your ex-girlfriend? Yukai was stunned in place. He didn't speak. And there was only the sound of the wind passing through the phone. As if sensing something, he turned around and met my eyes. A thin layer of redness welled up in my eyes like the rising water, slowly spreading to my eye sockets and dimming my eyes. A look of panic flashed across Yukai's face, and he instinctively let go of Lin Yang's hand. Just as he raised his foot in my direction, I turned around and disappeared into the crowd. He urgently shouted behind me, Yang Yang. When I got back to the car, I opened my phone, and nearly hundreds of private messages immediately flooded into my Douyin account. This account was my personal account, not the one that Yukai and I used to create couple content, but everyone still came to me to urge me, hoping that I could update the video of today's 2nd anniversary with Yukai. I uploaded a photo. It was Lin Yang and Yukai holding hands side by side under the Jiangjing Bridge just now. Then I tagged Yukai's ID. Sorry. Everyone, the video may not be updated. My boyfriend accompanied his ex-girlfriend to watch the fireworks on our 2nd anniversary. Just when the popularity of the video of Yukai proposing to me hadn't subsided, the photo I posted on the internet caused a huge stir. Everyone was incredulous that the man who had taken such good care of me in front of the camera on weekdays would cheat, and they made comments like they would never believe in love again. Yukai was busy doing public relations, claiming that all of this was just a misunderstanding, that he hadn't cheated, and denying that the person in the photo was him. And he asked the company to take back my account and immediately delete the work I had posted. The matter continued to ferment. There were many people fanning the flames in the comment section, saying that apart from a blurry photo, I didn't have any substantial evidence to prove that Yukai had cheated. Everyone was waiting for an official explanation from us. During this period, Yukai called me countless times, begging to meet me, but I never answered. Until the last time he stood downstairs in the new community I rented for a whole day and finally fainted on the ground due to low blood sugar. I called 120 and sent him to the hospital. In the hospital, Yukai lay sickly on the hospital bed with a pale face. When I saw that he woke up, I wanted to turn around and leave, but he grabbed my hand tightly. His voice was hoarse. Yang Yang. Do you only want to see me when it's come to this? I coldly pulled my hand back. We've already broken up. There's no need to see each other again. Yukai was stunned for a moment and said firmly, Mu Yang, I won't agree to the breakup. I couldn't help but smile bitterly. I know that you were with Lin Yang for 5 years. You broke up because of some unavoidable reasons. Now, breaking up with me to make up for your past regrets, isn't that a good thing? After I finished speaking, his hand clenched into a fist turned white. At that time, her family didn't agree with us being together and forcefully sent her abroad. Then we broke up. Now that Lin Yang's family has encountered some changes, she's back in the country and is all alone. As a friend, I just want to help and take care of her, that's all. Meeting my inquiring gaze, Yukai pursed his lips. I admit that I still have some regrets about her, but that's all in the past. I sneered, your care is really thoughtful. Ditching his girlfriend on the anniversary to accompany her to watch the fireworks, Yukai heard the sarcasm in my words, moved his lips, and finally only said one sentence. Yang Yang, you should know how hard it has been for us to build our account to what it is now. I looked back at him with a calm expression. He continued, being able to make a living from traffic and the self-media is an opportunity that many ordinary people can only dream of in their entire lives. Can you say that if you didn't have the identity of this blogger, you would be better off than you are now? Could your mother still be living in a high-class ward that costs several thousand yuan a day? Mu Yang, you're not a child anymore. In life, you not only need love but also bread. Feelings are not as simple as you think. They are inherently intertwined with many things. Everything is false. Only when there are interests between people can the most stable relationship be formed. Just like Yukai and me, because of the identity of a couple blogger, we rise and fall together. Choosing to break up means losing a huge fan base. I pointed out bluntly, are you trying to force me to do public relations with you to stabilize the fans? Even if there's no more love between us, we can still be contractual lovers. Yukai raised his eyebrows non-committally. He leaned back on the pillow again, and the previous look of guilt in his eyes completely disappeared. I'm not forcing you. I just want you to think about it carefully in a mature way. If you lose the account and the traffic, what will happen to your current life? Think about your mother who is still lying in the hospital bed, and your father who is an alcoholic. Mu Yang, if you insist on going your own way, you know better than me what awaits you in the future. I heard the threat in Yukai's tone. Looking at his cold and distant eyebrows and eyes, I couldn't help but think of the past. When Yukai first chased me, once, his love for me was so sincere and passionate. He was so good that I thought such a bright person shouldn't belong to me. The problems in my original family made me extremely sensitive and inferior. When I repeatedly hesitated and stepped back in the face of his enthusiasm, doubting whether I could hold on to such happiness, it was Yukai who told me, Mu Yang, you're great, really great, I like you the most. If you're insecure and afraid of pushing me away because of your personality, you can keep confirming with me. I'll firmly tell you that I love you again and again. I love both your brightness and your brokenness. At that time, I felt that the clothes that had been damp and wet on me for more than 20 years were finally going to be dried by the sun. That feeling of being firmly chosen was like huge waves, almost making me faint with happiness. Later, during the process of creating video content, I mentioned more than once that Yukai was the light that saved me from the darkness and led me to grow step by step. The label of a sensitive and inferior girl and a handsome and mature man voluntarily accommodating her was full of contrasting highlights and traffic. As expected, we became popular. Everyone said that the relationship between Yukai and me was like a lonely and lost girl meeting her own exclusive island. My personal growth experience gave some simple comfort to those girls who, like me, had been hurt by their original families. Everyone hoped to meet a prince who could save them from the darkness. Just like I did. But was that really the case? Was the person I waited for really a prince? No, he was just a businessman good at scheming, because he knew me well enough. He knew better than anyone else where my weaknesses were. I once thought he was my safe haven, but now he could also use my weaknesses as a sharp dagger to stab deeply into my heart. We had a meal after that day, and of course, it ended in an unhappy way. Before we parted, I asked him one last question. Putting aside those deliberate and false elements of performance, Yukai, outside the camera, did you ever love me? In his silence, I got the final answer. a few days later. It was within my expectation that Lin Yang came to see me. We found a quiet coffee shop and sat opposite each other. After Lin Yang took off her sunglasses, I saw the faint grayish blue under her eyes. Because of my photo, netizens dug up a lot of clues. After quickly deleting all her works, Lin Yang became the prime suspect of Yukai's infidelity. Troubled by public opinion, her life was not easy. Mu Yang, I was with Yukai for 5 years. I firmly thought that we could accompany each other through this life. Later, we separated for some unavoidable reasons. During those years abroad, I thought of him all the time. Later, when you became popular on the internet, even I, who was far across the ocean, learned about that vigorous love story, and I finally gave up. But after I came back to the country, he not only took the initiative to contact me but also suddenly appeared every time I was helpless. I know he hasn't forgotten me. I know it's shameless and despicable for me to come between you two. I'm not without scolding myself, but I just can't help it. As soon as I see him, I think that even if I have to be a mistress that can't be put on the table, I'll accept it as long as I can be by his side. She almost choked up at the end and couldn't speak with red eyes. I felt a bit complicated at that moment. My instinctive reaction was to dislike her, no matter what the reason was. She shouldn't have interfered in someone else's relationship, especially as an ex-girlfriend. But as a woman, I could also empathize with her situation. 5 years. How many 5 years can a woman's youth have? She accompanied him to live in the narrowest rental house and ate the worst takeout. If it wasn't for extreme love, which woman could, with such a firm belief, accompany a man with nothing through endless hardships? So, between slapping her and giving her a pack of tissues, I handed her a tissue. Have you ever thought that, in fact, he's not worth it at all, and the reason you thought you had to separate back then wasn't actually that difficult? A plane ticket doesn't cost a fortune, and waiting for you for 3 years isn't that long, but he chose to be with me instead. The same is true now. After being with me, he still couldn't let go of his ex-girlfriend. Perhaps in the objective proposition of love as a one-on-one relationship, for Yukai himself, it's always a subjective choice. His heart never stays for anyone. Putting interests first is his life creed. Lin Yang was stunned for a moment and finally picked up her bag and left. There were no melodramatic scenes between us, no hysterical quarrels, we just had a calm conversation. When I got home, the lights in the living room were already on. The smell of food wafted over. I saw that familiar figure in the kitchen. Yukai was skillfully cooking. I instinctively glanced around to see if there was a camera, and surprisingly, there wasn't. Yukai simply cooked a few home-cooked dishes. As he brought them out of the kitchen, he urged me to wash my hands. Why do you have the key to my house? I had some free time last time and made a copy. I washed my hands in silence and didn't say anything more. He picked up a piece of sweet and sour spare ribs, which I liked the most, and put it in my bowl, as if nothing had happened between us. I broke the deathly silence in the room. I've thought it over. We should break up. A trace of pain flashed in Yukai's eyes. But don't worry, I can cooperate with you in public relations. Let's part ways amicably. All the profits from our shared account will go to you. I won't ask for anything. After I finished speaking, his hand holding the chopsticks trembled, and his hoarse voice sounded, "Are you really determined to break up with me?" I took a sip of water and said softly, "Yukai, I'm tired of acting with you. The original intention of creating this account was to simply record the bits and pieces of our lives, but you also know that it all changed in the end. The love I yearn for isn't this kind of mechanical performance. It makes me feel that your kindness to me isn't from the bottom of your heart." His eyes red, he trembled as he reached out to hold my hand. "If I say that all my kindness to you was from the heart, you won't believe me, right?" I said calmly. "Not to mention the past, even your attempt to keep me now makes me feel that you're just acting." Yukai lowered his head in frustration and quietly lit a cigarette. His voice was very unsteady. "I didn't even know that I've become just a performing persona in your heart now." Yukai sat there expressionlessly, smoking continuously. Finally, he got up and left. A few days later, the public opinion fermented again. Netizens found a lot of traces of communication between Yukai and Lin Yang on Lin Yang's Weibo. When Yukai was pushed to the forefront of the storm, he posted several chat records on Weibo. These were from the time when we just started dating. At that time, I didn't know how to love someone. Because of my insecurity, I was always worried about losing him. Every time we quarreled, I instinctively refused to communicate. Yukai intercepted many incomplete chat records and, with his captions, explained the situation of my original family, creating an image of me as someone with psychological flaws who always demanded emotional value from him and secretly carried out cold violence against him. And he also described how he loved me and how he firmly embraced me after being hurt by my sharp personality again and again. In his clarification, he also downplayed the relationship between him and Lin Yang, saying that they were just old friends and that he himself hadn't done anything out of line. There was also a diagnosis certificate showing that he was diagnosed with severe depression attached as a picture. I have to say that Yukai had some expert guidance in this move. It successfully shifted the focus away from his infidelity, and the public opinion took a big turn. As expected, people with problems in their original families shouldn't be in a relationship. They're like blood-sucking mosquitoes, just constantly demanding from their partners. Yukai really had a hard time. It's already good that he wasn't driven crazy by depression. He really loved, he wanted to save others but ended up falling into the abyss himself. I was so angry at his shameless behavior that my whole body was shaking. It was clearly him who had cheated, but in order to maintain his online persona, he chose to shift all the blame onto me. He even didn't hesitate to attack the most painful part of me. I instinctively wanted to speak out and fight back. But since my account had been taken back by the company and the password had been changed, when I posted works with a new account, there was basically no traffic, and the works would even be maliciously reported and taken down. Yukai wanted to make me a mute and force me to bear this unjust accusation in silence. I never thought he could go this far. Our 2-year relationship was truly just a tool for him to make a profit. When the situation reached a boiling point, Lin Yang posted several graphic contents on her social account, completely confirming the fact of Yukai's infidelity. The public opinion reversed again. I never thought she would help me, and in a way that damaged herself. I asked her why, and she said that since the incident happened, Yukai had been desperately trying to distance himself from her. At that time, she wasn't unaware that she might end up being scolded and hated by everyone, but as long as she could be with Yukai, she was willing to bear all of this. But she never expected that she would be abandoned by Yukai again. He was so cold and easily denied everything between them. At that moment, Lin Yang clearly realized, Yukai couldn't bear to lose the popularity and topics that came with being with me. He couldn't bear to lose everything he had now. And those 5 years between them had already ended completely the moment they broke up. Nothing was left. The last words Lin Yang said were, "Today, Yukai shifted all the problems onto you to protect himself. Tomorrow, it's very likely that he'll say that I seduced him to save himself. I've been too stubborn all along. I couldn't let go of those 5 years of memories, but I never thought that the Yukai in my memory had long since disappeared." The evidence that Lin Yang finally exposed completely nailed Yukai to the pillar of shame. More people stood up to speak for me, and many big bloggers helped me release the complete chat records. In fact, except for being a bit awkward and not good at expressing myself at the beginning of our relationship, I had never carried out cold violence against Yukai. On the contrary, when I was with him, I repeatedly adjusted my mindset and tried my best to be a better partner. When a large number of fans learned that my personal account had been taken back, they strongly urged me to create a new account of my own. All the fans that Yukai lost came to my side. I changed from a couple blogger to a lifestyle blogger, in order to convey a positive and optimistic attitude towards life. I innovated many ways of expressing content. Coupled with my delicate writing style, I attracted a lot of fans. There were also different voices in the comment section. Is there anyone who became my fan after I broke up with Yukai? Immediately, a pair of broad and warm hands covered my cold feet. Yukai's low voice was mixed with a sleepy nasal tone. "Baby, your stomach hurts again. Rather than waiting to be saved, it's better for us to become that light ourselves." Due to the infidelity scandal, Yukai's popularity plummeted to the bottom. Wherever he appeared, he would be spurned by people. His comment section was even invaded by my indignant fans. "Bro, you're so good at acting, it's really a waste of talent that Hollywood didn't invite you. Backstabbing cheater bro." This time, even if Yukai fainted countless times downstairs in my house, I didn't go down to see him. He was finally broken down by the popularity that he had always pursued.